Welcome back to Bets of the North on Kings of the North, and Tishu, we're no longer undefeated. So I'm trying to project the vibe of like the drunk guy at the sports book who just lost but doesn't care because he's just having a good time betting, and he's just sure he's going to get it right this time, man. That's all right. Screw it, Ohio and Kentucky. Man, I know I'm going to win this one. So that's why I look like this.
I can appreciate that. You do that pretty well. I'm actually too well. I'm a little concerned for your wife.
You think I do drunk and losing money too well? You might know something about me. So Doug Lesmerises and Tyler Shoemaker here with your every Friday morning Bets of the North here on Kings of the North. We did start the season 3-0 with our $500 real money bet. We are betting real company money every week. We are going to give $5,000 minimum to charity at the end of the year. But if our bankroll is above that, we're going to give the whole bankroll. So we're still up, even though we lost last week. Tishu, we started with $5,000, and our bankroll right now is $6,256.58. Because even last week, you nailed one of the underdog picks. So like we lost money last week, but we had a winning bet in there somewhere. We did lose $500 on the Ohio Kentucky under 42 bet. They went over. And this is one of those where there was a pick six in this game and you were like, that's it. So like, did you have like when you are figuring stuff out and all of a sudden there's 6 points scored in 6 seconds? That's bad news for an under bet, is it not?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that came in the second half. And as soon as that happened, Ari sent me the screenshot. He was like watching the game cast. He sent me the screenshot and I was like, we're dead. It's over. Like, especially on a low total like that, you know, you need a lot to go right, which it was. I mean, that's right process, wrong result on that one. I mean, you can't predict a pick six, so it happens.
That score winds up 41-6 Kentucky. So the total hits at 47 without the pick six. The total's at 40 and we win. So I think the book should probably give us half of our bet back on that, right?
I'm sure they would. Yeah.
So we lost $500 on that. We had 2 underdog bets. We take a plus money swing each week where it has to be plus odds. We make 1 or 2, maybe 3 bets on that. We lost on the fat thumb bet. The Doug Lesmerises fat thumb parlay, where I was thinking about betting a Northwestern Washington alternate line over and thinking about betting a Virginia Tech Rutgers alternate line under. And then as I was thinking about it, my fat thumb bet it. And then we came on the show and you were like, I am opposite both those plays. And it's always,
we hit the opposite parlay. Yeah. Yeah. We should have.
You saw the viewer that said they faded my thumb, right? And cashed that ticket.
There you go. So that's not a bad strategy.
Fade the thumb. Fade the thumb. I've been doing thumb exercises to try to make my thumb slightly less fat so I don't make accidental bets anymore this week. So we lost that, but we did win, and you nailed it of all the bets you can nail. I think it was plus 340. James Madison money line bet to beat North Carolina as a significant underdog, and you killed it. I think we won $210 on a $50 bet on that. So like we did, like, it was great. It was fantastic. So the world was like, holy moly, JMU dropped 70 on USC, but you, Tish, you were like, I saw it coming.
I didn't see that coming. I wish I could take credit for that. I did not see that coming. I thought it would be a competitive game. And obviously we played the money line, so we look like geniuses. So, we'll take a victory lap on it, especially on a weekend where we don't have very many victory laps to take. So we'll certainly take it. But yeah, I didn't see 70 points coming from JMU.
No. So that was a good one. So that was our win. So that helped a little bit. So that's why our total, we're still, I think we lost like $300 last week total. So we're still up $1,200, more than $1,200 for the year. We had a rough week on the other bets that we suggest that we don't put actual real money on. I do believe you were 0-4 on your best bets, which is...
Is that true? I don't think that's true. I think I was 1-3.
It's not true? Okay.
But it was bad nonetheless.
Look at the Iowa State.
I thought I had one winner.
What was the Iowa State Houston score?
I lost that one on a touchdown with 30 seconds left. That Iowa State's up 50 points and they punch in a late touchdown to send that one over. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure I was 1-3.
Okay, well then we have to adjust that, Mac, because I have them here. Iowa State. No, that's for this week. Oh, great, Doug, you have all the stuff and you screwed it up.
So well, anyway, I had an Iowa State total last week and it lost.
You did?
Yeah.
It was not the best week for us in multiple ways, right? Is that fair to say? I was 1-1 on my best bets. You were either 0-4 or 1-3. I think you're right. You were 1-3. My apologies for that. We'll get that fixed. It didn't go well. You had a tough beat. You had Baylor +2, and then Colorado threw a Hail Mary in the last play of the game and won in overtime. How'd that feel?
Not only did we lose a +2 bet when the team had a 7-point lead with 2 seconds left in the game, we lose on the Hail Mary, but then it gets even worse because I was about to go to bed. I was like, all right, let me just watch these last 2 seconds, tick off the clock. I'm going to go to bed happy. Shedeur Sanders completes the Hail Mary. The game goes to overtime. Colorado scores immediately in overtime. Baylor is crossing the goal line. The guy dives crossing the goal line and fumbles into the end zone, out of the back of the end zone, and that's how the game ended. So it was worse than just the Hail Mary. It was the Hail Mary and then the fumble at the goal line. But you know what? That summarized my entire college football weekend. So I mean, that was just par for the course.
Yeah. Not great. I was totally wrong on my Syracuse bet. I bet like Syracuse minus. That was one of my best bets. Syracuse -8.5 versus Stanford. And then I also in real life ran the line up to 33.5 to get 13-1 odds to watch Syracuse actually lose to Stanford. But I did nail. I had a good vibe on that. I nailed Army -6.5 versus Rice, and then Army just killed them. So let's regroup. Do you want to regroup, Tishu? Is this a regroup kind of weekend? Get drunk, forget our losses, go back to the window. We're back at the window. Hey, Tishu, man, I got this bet. What do you want to bet on this one, man? I got $5 with your name on it. Like that.
You sound exactly like one of my college roommates, and it's hilarious. That's exactly what he sounded like in college.
Remember when you used to have to go to a window or go to your bookie's house, but you have to go to a window to play. This is the window now. The window's your phone. The phone, Tishu, is a window into the world, including a betting window for good and for bad. All right, let's do what we're going to do with the $500 bet. And we are going to tell people this because we'd like to keep it real here on Bets of the North. It's Wednesday. You're watching this on Friday morning. We normally record this as late in the day as we can on Thursday, so the lines are fresh. But Tishu thinks he might get hit by a hurricane on Thursday, and we'd rather have an early show than no show. Can you imagine if it was like, Tishu doesn't have power, so here's what Doug thinks this week? Oh my God, that's the last thing we wanted. So early, right? Better early than no Tishu.
Better early. I don't know. Some people may dispute that, but yeah, I appreciate us doing it early. Hopefully the lines are still fresh. As we give these out, definitely check. Don't just, if we give out a side at +7, don't just be like, oh, well, it's 4.5. I'll take it now. At least message me, DM me on Twitter at Tishu Index and ask me if the lines have moved significantly, if I would still take it. I'm happy to give that feedback.
Oh, that's so nice. Or just call. Or just swing by in the middle of the hurricane. Swing by Tishu's house. Okay. This is our $500 bet this week. It has already been placed. This was on Tishu's list. I thought, oh, that one's good. Washington State, Boise State. Over 63. We got it at -112. Our $500 bet will pay $946.42. And the bet is in. The reason I like this from a football standpoint is that A, Boise State has Ashton Gentine. It feels like nobody can stop him. And B, Washington State is crazy. And they only win games crazy. And they went over 100 points total against San Jose State last week. And the guy who's their quarterback, John Metter. Is it John Metter? I call him Baker Metter because he wears a headband and eye black and he seems like he has a little tood. So he's Mateer, my bad. John Mateer. You have an unstoppable force and a crazy person playing offense on two different teams. And that feels like over 63 to me. So that's my non-math version of it. What is the math version? Ashton Genty plus John Mateer over 63. That's my equation, Tishu.
I like it. I'm here for it. I project this game at 82. Woo. I mean, I've got formulas as high as like 96 on this game. I mean, basically, you know, when I look at all these formulas and they're all like 80s and 90s, I'm like, okay, that I'm not going to get too keyed up about like the specifics of the number, but it's like, okay, this is telling me this is going to be a shootout. You know, I think of like that Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, Oklahoma game a few years ago that was just like 1 million points, and they both threw for 600 yards. Like I can see that type of game playing out in this. My buddy Tim Murray from VSiN, I heard him give out this pick as well. He really liked it, and I agree. I texted him. I was like, "Yep, I'm on it. This is probably my favorite play of the week for sure." I'm glad you agreed on this one, because this one I feel really good about it.
And this is a stay up late on Saturday and watch this. Is this a thing, Tishu? Sometimes, no matter what math or an algorithm or a way of crunching numbers might say, is a book only going to go so high? Like if a book has its own numbers and the math said 80, total's 80. I've never seen a total at 80.
Yeah.
Like, is this that they just like the edge of reason that they might be staring at each other being like, I think both these teams score 50, but we can't go any higher than 63 on this. Is that a thing?
Well, I think odds makers numbers that they set these lines with are similar to what my numbers used to be like. You know, I've talked about this before, where my numbers used to be based on kind of grounded in the FBS average, which is about 55 points. So like you can only get so much higher than average if you're including that number in your projections. I no longer do that, which is how I'm able to come up with these higher and lower totals. You know, I mentioned Iowa as an example going the other way before. So, I mean, there are times now where I'll project, you know, a total at, 27 or something, where the odds makers are going to be at like 38. And the same thing with these higher totals. You're exactly right. I don't think you're going to see a total at like 80, even if there is math to support it. I don't think their baseline numbers will allow them to do that. And not to mention, I mean, if you hang a total at 80 in college, you're probably going to take 90% of the money on the under. And odds are, you know, if you set the total that high, the odds are that it probably would go under.
And just like Boise's gone over 63 easily in every single game. Boise's 3 games this year are 56-45, 37-34, and 56-14. And they're not going to stop Washington State. Like, Washington State's not putting up a 14 in this game. You don't have to get to 63 by Boise scoring 50. Like, this is, I think both teams are like at least 4 touchdowns each. I don't want to, I don't want to make it sound, we're coming off a loss. I don't want to make it sound like it's free money, but this number seems low to me. I think the way that we miss on this is like, it is a high scoring game, but it's a high scoring game with a couple missed field goals that winds up at 34-28, you know, and we're barely under. Like, the idea that this game's going to come in at 21-10 or 35-3, it seems impossible to me.
Yeah. This is one of those that I feel like, okay, obviously there's no such thing as a lock or free money. There's a chance this bet loses, as there is with the rest of them. But I'm with you. I think if this bet loses, it's going to be like a sweat at the end. And like you said, like a missed field goal, or, you know, a guy's running into the end zone and drops the ball too soon. And then it's a turnover. It's like something stupid like that. But as far as how these teams actually play and all their metrics, I mean, this number is too low.
And I think they're both comfortable with that. They know who they are.
Yeah.
I think the game scripts for both head coaches in this game is first team to 40. So I think like at least. So I don't think it's and sometimes because like style of play matters for this kind of thing. I don't think anyone's going to try to sit on the ball. I think maybe you could get in trouble. We might get in trouble if people are going for it on 4th down and all of a sudden it's like, well, you should have had free points there for sure. And you went on it on 4th and 6 from the 27 and you didn't get it. Now there have been like good, long, productive drives on both sides that end with no points. But again, like I think there's many paths. And you know what's another path to hitting the over on this? Overtime, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like, hey, yeah. let's tie it 28 and then have it finish 54-52.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want to make a bet like, oh man, I hope this game goes to overtime so we can cash. But you do have to factor it in. I think this is an 8-point spread, so you get a single digit spread, which says like overtime is at least on the table. So yeah I mean, I feel good about it from all angles here.
Yeah, I think this is a really good bet. This might be the bet I feel the second best about that we've done so far, other than the Ohio State team total in week 2 that we felt like we just nailed. Yep. I think I feel the second best about this. I think we had we just weren't on it last week. I mean, what are you going to do? I think we're in a really good spot to rebound. So apologies to anybody that lost with us on the real money bet last week, but let's, hey man, drinks on me if we lose again. Plus money swing. This will make you feel good. Let's bet against Georgia. It might not be a huge bet, but it's a huge bet with our hearts, because we're putting the hat on backwards, because that's the opposite of this is dog mentality. This is the opposite of dog mentality, because we're betting on Bama, and I'm trying to get the entire North to root for Alabama this week, because if you live up here, if you care about Northern football, I think you should hate Georgia football. That's not hating people. That's hating a program. It's hating what a program stands for. That's hating the way a program across the board behaves. Let's hate Georgia and put money on it. $100, Bama money line. It's a 2-point spread. We're only getting plus 110, Tishu. And I was kind of saying to you as we were picking this, it's like, okay, normally I would like to be at least plus 200, at least like plus 180 with some of these plus money swings, because it's a swing. So a swing is like, we're going to take a big swing and hopefully connect. But the swing here is we're swinging our sword at Georgia. So who cares what the odds are? Let's root against Georgia.
I'm here for it. And, I alluded to this on Twitter earlier this week. I have been working on something pretty exciting with one of my formulas. And that's basically, I'm attempting to replicate kind of odds makers' power ratings to give me a better idea of where lines might be going. And so far, so good. So, using my quote unquote odds maker replica formula, I would make this line only Georgia -1. So like, basically a pick 'em, but then, my numbers that ultimately are going to drive all my decisions. Every single one of them is Alabama as a favorite. I mean, as high as Alabama -5. So, I really, really like Bama here. I think they've been better on the field. I think the only reason Bama's not favored in this game is just because of the preseason priors, where a lot of people, odds makers included, felt like it was Georgia and Ohio State and then everybody else. But that hasn't really been the case on the field so far through a month of this season. I think both teams have shown, both Georgia and Ohio State, both have shown, potential kinks in the armor. So it's I like Alabama here to win.
So I'm willing to put $100 of our company's money on betting with our heart. I am. But this also, I think, is with the head. Kirby Smart has one win against Alabama, and it was in Indianapolis. It's so weird. And it was when Alabama was out of receivers in the national championship game in the same year when Bama had beaten Georgia in the SEC championship game a month earlier. Georgia's won a lot. They have not won this game. And all the pressures on Georgia here. Listen, Kalen DeBoer's in year 1. It's like, oh, we better win. It's like nobody really expects them to win. And so Bama as a home dog, I don't love Bama, but I really don't like Georgia. And again, not to be a terrible team, but like to win a game like this in this moment, I think there are a lot of football reasons with Georgia trying to contain Jalen Milroe and that Alabama defense. The Georgia offensive line's beaten up a little bit. I don't think Georgia has a ton of skill players that scare you. And Carson Beck has not played a game like this. So I think this is it. Like, I really think he's played games like this, but like not quite Bama at Bama, you know? So I like this a lot from a football standpoint. And it's also going to be fun. I'm willing to lose $100 of our company's money while rooting against Georgia, because I think I will get $100 worth of enjoyment out of rooting against Georgia.
100%.
Stupid Georgia. Okay, so those are our two actual money bets for the week. We do have some other best bets to make. And Tishu, let's start with you. Your first best bet this week is one that it does involve Houston and Iowa State, and it's under 43.5. You got it at minus 108 on DraftKings. Why do you like this?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a huge discrepancy on the number. And we've seen this total tick down a little bit so far this week. I mean, I only projected at 32.5.
Okay.
And you know, I've got formulas as low as like 30. So and none of them, I mean, I didn't have a single formula above like 38. So I think it's going to be a really low scoring game. I honestly don't know that Houston's even going to score. So it really just comes down to, like, is Iowa State going to score 44 on their own in this game? I mean, I guess it's possible. I don't really foresee it. Houston has tended to play more kind of slugfest, kind of low scoring games. And that's what Iowa State tends to do, last week notwithstanding, when they punched in a late one. But yeah, I think this is going to be a low scoring game that I am not sure Houston's even going to score in.
Yeah. Shutout last week at Cincinnati. This very much feels like in the range of like 31-7 to me, 28-3. That I don't even think Iowa State wants to score 40. This is a conference game. You know, Arkansas State last week, Matt Campbell's tying the all-time wins record, and they're stretching their legs and non-conference play and that kind of thing. Matt Campbell's going to break the record and become Iowa State on his own. Iowa State's all-time leading winner as a head coach in this one. But I think this is a good one too. Houston, if you can't score in Cincinnati on the road, I don't know that Houston's going to come back and score 30 at home against Iowa State. So I think this is a really good one. I like this. Miami of Ohio, UMass under 46.5 at minus 115 on FanDuel. Why do you like this?
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are just abysmal offensively, and they both, again, tend to play really low scoring games. Like, these teams against decent teams are the type of teams that I'm like, well, I don't know if they're going to score in this game. Like we just talked about with Houston, but now they're playing each other. So it's like 1st to 14 is going to win this game, I think. So, I mean, my projection on this game is 37. So, I mean, we're getting a ton of value here. Again, formulas as low as like 33, none even in the 40s at all. Everything's in the 30s. So I think it's going to be a really low scoring game between two really, really bad offenses. And Miami of Ohio's got a pretty decent defense. They just suck on offense.
I feel like this is the third time maybe we're betting on UMass on this show, and I think you're 2-0 so far, right?
Betting on UMass and betting Miami of Ohio unders. We cashed one, I think, a couple weeks ago.
All right, this is a magic formula. I like this one. North Carolina, Duke. It's at Duke. You're taking North Carolina +3, minus 110 on DraftKings. Mac Brown's all hot and bothered, man. People think Mac Brown deserves the old heave-ho after giving up 70 to James Madison. Is this numbers? Is this just math? Like, it does feel like if Mac Brown and North Carolina have a pulse remaining, they would need to show it in a rivalry game after getting thumped last week.
Yeah, this was one, you know, we talk about how we like to get, you know, have our gut and the number kind of agree on a play. And as soon as that game ended last week, when they got destroyed by James Madison and gave up 70 points, I was like, all right, I need to look and see who they're playing next week. And I hope to God my number is aligned, because I love the spot for them here. Numbers aligned. Even, I mean, it's the weirdest thing. There's just been such an overreaction to that one game. You know, even the odds maker formula on that makes North Carolina like a 7-point favorite. You know, so I think this is a huge overreaction to one game. Yes, there's the Mac Brown thing, but I think if there's anything left in him as a coach, I think he's going to have them fired up, and I think they're going to come put it on Duke. And Duke's not very good. It's not like they're going.
Duke is not very good.
You know, it's not like it's a bounce back spot, but they're going to Clemson or something like that. I mean, they're playing at Duke, which is 5 minutes away, and North Carolina really is the better team. They definitely have more talent. So if there's any ounce of want to left in those guys, they're going to win this game outright. So I'll gladly take the 3 points.
All right. Last best bet for you. And I can't get behind this, but I understand why you're doing it. It's Maryland +7 at Indiana, -110 on DraftKings. And I think part of the issue here is it not true that somehow, some way, Indiana has become a public team and they're 4-0 and everybody's like, give me the Hoosiers. I want to be part of the Coach Sigs bandwagon. Maybe it's just us smoking candy cigarettes and people are like, I want to be part of that. I don't care if it makes sense in T-Shoe's algorithm. So you're going the opposite way and you're not betting on the smokes.
I'm not betting on the smokes. That is hilarious that you actually have candy cigarettes. My 8-year-old daughter would love those. I've told her that those exist and she's never seen them. So she would love her.
You're a good parent.
I'm a good parent. I'll have to show her this video.
This has been pointed out to me, and I'm not here to call people out. But it's been pointed out to me that Josh Pate on his show is smoking cigarettes, but he doesn't have an actual cigarette. But he's talking about Coach Sigs and going like this. We have the cigarettes. Now they're made of candy. But props matter. When you're picking your college football show to watch, just remember, props matter. So the thing about this is Indiana could still win and you could win your bet. So then everybody would win, Coach Sigs and T-Shoe.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the odds maker replica formula makes Indiana like a 1-point favorite here. But you're right. I think Indiana has become a huge public team because if there's anything the public loves, it's teams that put up a bunch of points, which Indiana has done.
Yep.
It's coaches that, get in the press conference and talk a little junk, which Coach Sigs has.
Yep.
So I think I'm not a big like betting splits guy. As I've learned over the years, like I don't really think that stuff necessarily matters, but I am going to take a peek at the betting splits on this later this week just to see. I bet you're going to see 80+% of the bets on Indiana in this game. And I think this line is just way, way, way inflated. My number actually makes Maryland a 1-point favorite here. So I'm gladly going to take the 7. And, Indiana may win this by a field goal. They may win it by 40. Maybe they're just better than the market can catch up to or that I can catch up to. But I don't think so. I don't think they're 7 points better than Maryland. Maryland has more talent, I think, top to bottom. So we'll see what Mike Loxley's made of here. And I'm going to take the 7 with Maryland.
I mean, this is one of those, right? Just like in a conference game, in what you think is more like a pick 'em, if you're getting a touchdown, you just take that.
Yep.
Makes sense. All right. There's a bet that I love that your numbers had opposite. So we didn't take it for real money, but I have 3 best bets this week. My number 1 best bet is a little bit of a version of what you talked about, coming off a bad loss. I love Kansas State -4.5 at home against Oklahoma State this week. They got blitzed at BYU. Their 2 best players turned the ball over 3 times. It turned into 21 points in like a 6-minute span. They had the BYU guy drop a punt and turn it into a 100-yard punt return. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I thought Oklahoma State stunk last week against Utah when Utah played a backup quarterback. And Oklahoma State was playing Alan Bowman, who I don't think is very good. So I think Chris Klieman has been chewing Kansas State's butts all week. I think without the loss last week, I think this is more than a touchdown that Kansas State is favored. I think Kansas State is still very possibly a playoff team. And I think Kansas State is a significantly better team. And I know Oklahoma State's in the mix in the Big 12. But I like the team better, and I really like the spot for Oklahoma State. But you went as far as to actually said Oklahoma State getting the 4.5 as one of your picks. So you hate me.
I don't hate you. I do disagree. I don't disagree with the spot being good for Kansas State because I did take that into consideration. But the only thing is, I also think it's a good spot for both teams because both teams are coming off a loss. Both teams, I mean, if they have any aspirations at all of contending for the Big 12, like they have to have this game. So I think that kind of washes out for these teams. Normally, I would definitely agree with you. Like, okay, Kansas State just got waxed by BYU Friday night. Like, this is a great turnaround spot for them. They do have 1 day of rest advantage, I guess, because that was a Friday game, right? So I think they have a day advantage of rest, but got to go with the numbers here. All else being even, I make Oklahoma State a 1.5 point favorite here, and I think they're going to win the game. But if they don't, I still think it's going to be tight enough that they can cover this 4.5. I bet 5.5. Oklahoma State plus 5.5 on Sunday. So I like the other side here.
Okay, interesting. Man, actually, it was a Saturday game. BYU Kansas State was a Saturday game. Okay. Yeah, Saturday in the wee hours on Saturday night.
Gotcha.
Okay. I think Kansas State's loss was not indicative of who they are, and I think Oklahoma State's loss was indicative of who they are. So I think the best place for a bounce back is when you lose a game that really is contrary to who you are as a team, which is North Carolina really a team that's going to give up 70 to JMU? No. But they did. So that's why I like the Kansas State spot. Also, Oklahoma State's in the South, and they can cram it. Okay, the other one is, this is one of those, I am always interested in the South cramming it, but I can't cram it for money. Money is money. Cramming it is cramming it. So we have to be aware here. I already hit this. Landis already hit this. Illinois plus 18 at Penn State on Saturday night. I just don't think there's an 18-point gap between these two teams the way they've played so far this year. So I understand with priors why this is this. I mean, this probably would have been a 24-point line coming into the season. So do you think, how much are priors? So this, right, if this is a 24, 27-point line in the preseason, and now Illinois has played well enough to push it down to 18, but we're only 4 weeks in, so they haven't been able to push it down to maybe a 10 or 12-point spread. I think I actually got it at 17.5. Over a key number, like I think Penn State can dominate and win 31-14, but I actually think Illinois is going to hang. I don't know that I would pick Illinois to win, but I think this game is much more something like 30-24. So 18 feels like a ton to me. What do your numbers say about this game?
Yeah, I agree 100% on this game, because I just looked in the preseason. I would have made this line about 19. So right in line with where the market's at now. But now I make this game 15, and trending more towards Illinois with the way these teams have played so far on the field in 2024. So I think I think Illinois is getting a little more offense than maybe people thought they would. I think Luke Altmaier's played pretty well, considering. I know you guys talked about that on KOTN earlier this week, and made some good points on that. And Penn State, it's like they came out in week 1 against West Virginia, lit them up, and then everyone was like, "Oh, Penn State's awesome." And then Penn State messed around with Bowling Green for 3 quarters and kind of showed who they were. And then who was it they just played last week? I think and they messed Kent State messed around with Kent State for a little while too. Now they ended up burying them in the second half, but I think Illinois can, and Bert's got the history here with Penn State. Yeah. He's kind of got James Franklin's number a little bit. I think this is a great bet. I may end up betting this myself.
And as Landis pointed out, Andy Kotelnicki, the new Penn State offensive coordinator, last year at Kansas, kind of ran circles around the Illinois defense when Aaron Henry, the Illinois defensive coordinator, was in year 1. Aaron Henry is doing a great job as a defensive coordinator. In year 2, Illinois' defense has made a huge leap. So these two teams, these two coordinators, Penn State offensive coordinator, Illinois defensive coordinator, know each other. And I think you could look at that and say, well, Andy Kotelnicki had his number last year, but I think Aaron Henry's come a long way since then. So this just feels heavy. 3 scores. Again, this is one of those, like, you could be like, no, Penn State dominated Illinois and still didn't win by 3 scores. That's the thing about, like, I'm surprised this line is so high. If I would have guessed what this line was, I would have guessed like 11.5 or something like that. I don't know. I'm surprised that we're up over 17 points. And the last one is I still think Kentucky stinks. And the fact they hung with Georgia is all about Georgia, not about Kentucky. Kentucky screwed us last week with the over-under on Ohio. I also don't think Ole Miss is any good, but Ole Miss is beating everybody by 50. I have no idea why this line is only 17.5. This is wild to me. I don't understand this. Why is this line 17.5, but the Illinois Penn State game is 18? I don't know. Betting is weird. I'll take Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss beats Kentucky like 55-10. I can't believe this line is only 17.5 at -112 on DraftKings.
This is a game where, again, like I don't know how much Kentucky is going to score here, but I think they might be able to slow it down enough to keep this relatively close. I've got one formula that's right in line with the number. My actual number on the game is only 11.5. So I would lean pretty heavy towards Kentucky here, but I wouldn't feel great about it. I'm not betting this game for sure.
Okay.
The number says Kentucky. I would not feel good backing Kentucky here because, to your point, Ole Miss is certainly capable of just like putting them in the grinder for 4 quarters. So I want no part of it. I do think you're probably paying a little bit of a premium to back Ole Miss here just because they've been killing everybody.
I don't know, man. And it's at Ole Miss. Like Kentucky hung with Georgia, but that was at home. They lost 31-6 to South Carolina. South Carolina stinks.
Yeah.
And I think Ole Miss is overrated, but I know they're better than South Carolina. Here's the other question I wanted to do on this. So I'm going to bet these 3 games in real life. I like my 3 best bets. Should I also, my instinct is to bet each one, but then also do a 3-team parlay for maybe, so it's like a unit on each and then maybe half a unit on a 3-team parlay. If you like 3 games like that, is that a smart thing to do? Or are you just creating a scenario where you go 2-1, but now instead of winning a unit, now you're only winning half a unit because you lost one of the games, but then you also lost your parlay and now you went 2-1 and barely won any money?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I personally do. I don't have a problem with it. I would probably do less than a half unit on the parlay, though, because you want the biggest bulk of your action to be on straight bets, because that's where you're going to have the best chance to win. So, if you're betting, we'll call it $5 on the straight bets, maybe you put $1 or $1 or maybe $2 on the parlay. That way, if that loses, if one of them lose, you're not dead. You're not washing away 2 wins. If you go 2-1. So I don't have a problem with the strategy overall. I would just really lessen that unit on the parlay probably.
Okay, because it's one of those like I understand why it kind of doesn't make sense, because it's like if I go 3-0, I want to make sure that I don't just win 3 bets. I also win the parlay, because it's not it's like I would be unhappy. Like, I won 3-0, but I didn't parlay it. I'm an idiot. Like I just would be like excited and taking my money. So why do I also have to do the parlay, which only enhances my chances to win less if I go 2-1? Actually, probably doesn't make any sense. I just like parlays.
I think what you could do, and this is something I've never really played with or know the math on to be able to fully explain it to you, but I know one thing that people do in that scenario with like 3 teams like that is you do like a round robin parlay where it's like, so you can go that route. That's not something I really dabble in, so I don't really have much info there on that for you, but that would be, I think that would probably be the better way, because you can still go 2-1 and still win some money on the round robin, I think is how that works.
Yeah. So then it's like 3 different 2-team parlays. Basically, so it's like if you go 2-1, you'd still win one of the parlays too.
Yeah.
Okay. I just like to talk about when I'm a genius, making sure I win the maximum amount of money with my genius. See, I'm still drunk. I'm still drunk off our loss. So I feel good about our chances to bounce back, Tishu. We're up more than $1,000 with our $5,000 bankroll to start, but I feel good about where we are here and going into week 5.
Yeah. I love it. I think we've got some really good plays on this slate. Again, I mean, we're literally a pick 6 away from being perfect on those picks this year. It happens. I say every week, the bad weekend's going to come. Well, the bad weekend came, so let's get that out of our system. Let's get back to our winning ways this weekend. I'm excited.
I will be honest. I did kind of think that we were going to go 14-0 on our $500 picks and then be like on Good Morning America or something.
Good Morning America.
Look at these guys.
I love that. That's your betting show aspiration, is to get us on Good Morning America. I don't know. I would maybe aim higher from a betting industry audience, but you know what? Good Morning America is fine too.
They're winning money for hungry children. We'd be heroes. I guess we can still be heroes if we're like 12-2. But I kind of thought it'd be cool to be 14-0. All right, that's it for Bets of the North. You can find us here every Friday morning on Kings of the North. You can watch us on Kings of the North every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, live at noon Eastern till about 1:30. Post-game show Saturday night, 11 p.m. And when Bill Landis and I do that post-game show at 11 o'clock on Saturday night, we will mention Alabama, Georgia, especially if Georgia. We'll talk more about it if Georgia loses. If Georgia wins, we'll be like, yeah, Georgia won. But we'll be talking about Penn State, Illinois. That'll just have wrapped up freshly. A bunch of other really good Northern games this week. And then, of course, we'll see you back, Tishu, a week from Friday, man.
Yep. Can't wait. Having fun doing this.
All right. Let's win some money. Thanks to our producer, Mike Urstowski. He's Tyler Shoemaker. I'm Doug Lesmerises. And that was Bets of the North.